flash shop for an artist booth space. It sounds really exciting, and it sounds like something that could really be a benefit to this particular corner. And that's all I have for land use.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilman? None. Let's go to Environmental Beautification Committee. Councilman Wilson.
Yes, our committee did not meet, but I do have a question that relates to environment beautification and also the James Island Arts and Culture Center. We had voted for allocating some resources for solar panels for the building, and I was wondering what the time frame might be to start the process of getting bids, et cetera, for that to happen.
I have a contact, I just have not reached out to them
Okay, all right. Might we expect some sort of report at the next meeting?
yet. Yes, I will have a report next
Okay,
meeting.
thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have.
Okay, next, Children's Committee, there's no report. Public Safety Committee, Councilman Lawrence.
Just that we're having a meeting next Thursday at 7 o'clock, May the 22nd. That's all I have to report.
Next, the History Committee. The History Council met the first Tuesday in July, and the major work will be, the next major project will, member of council, Inez Brown will be working for a historical marker for the Three Trees School. Any questions? Next is Rethink Folly Road. And Rethink Folly Road met on, I believe, June 23rd. And the largest, the most interesting news from that meeting was that Rethink Folly Road Steering Committee has in concept agreed to work towards a grant with the National Park Service regarding rivers, trails, and conservation, which is a technical assistance grant, not really a funding grant, but it would involve looking at walking and biking access over Wahoo Cut somewhere, but maybe near 17, let's get near Folly Road, and then connecting down Folly Road to James Island County Park. There's the property and business owners group, getting just barely getting started. The Rethink Folly Road Steering Committee has requested our consultants to have an educational meeting for all the elected officials at the intergovernmental meeting. And I think we had hoped that we'd get the next intergovernmental meeting, but the timing is not right, so it won't be next week. It will be at the next one after that. But there'll be an update or an explanation of the project and what's going on with it to all elected officials. And the State of the Plan event, so every year the Rethink Folly Road Steering Committee has an event, State of the Plan, and it's, we're currently under postponement. Partly it's waiting for what this council determines what we're going to do with Bramley Park, if that's going to be associated with that event. But we're hoping to be a little bit cooler when we get to it, maybe later summer, early fall. And that's all I have on Rethink Folly Road. Are there any other questions? Yes? No? Okay, thank you. Next, Drainage Committee, Councilman Long.
Yes, we'll be having our next meeting August the 17th at 3 p.m. Tuesday. And so everyone is invited who would like to come. And that's all I report.
Business Development Committee, Councilman Bowles.
No report from this last month, but we will be meeting in August. Date will be forthcoming. Many thanks to Joe Walters, who's here tonight, to call me today and remind me that we need to get everybody back together.
Thank you. Any questions? So next, Tree Advisory Committee, Councilman Milton.
No report.
James Island Intergovernmental Council, so we'll be meeting next Wednesday at 7 o'clock here. And as I think the town administrator said, that one item on the agenda is getting together on making a proposal to the state to use use some of their federal money and send it back to us now with the James Island Creek waterfall. Senator Sims asked us to come up with something. All right, so I believe that's all our committee reports. So next I have a proclamation recognizing Dean Lamont Davis Jr. for perfect attendance. You're here, well, great. So you get to listen to read the proclamation. Proclamation please stand. Proclamation in recognition of perfect attendance, Dean Lamont Davis Jr. Whereas regular school attendance is fundamental to student achievement, perfect attendance is therefore a worthwhile yet difficult goal to attain. And whereas Deon Lamont Davis Jr. has maintained perfect school attendance from pre-K, K, and grades 1 through 12, 14 consecutive school years. And we commend him on his outstanding accomplishment. And whereas family support is of utmost importance to student success, we acknowledge Deon's family, his father, Deon Lamont Davis Sr., mother, Ms. Janice Reed Davis of James Island, for their contributions to its exceptional school attendance and education. The bride, the Woolsey Mayor, along with all members of the Town Council, hereby recognize the perfect attendance record of Deon Lamont Davis Jr., where he successfully earned a 3.6828 GPA. We wish Deon the very best as he attends the Citadel to major in intelligence and security studies. Also, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Resolution 2021-08, a resolution calling for referendum to increase Town Council from 4 to 6 members. If there's no objection, before we start, I would like to correct a scrivener's error that the date at the bottom.
7th day of November 2023.
Yes, that should be the second day of November 2nd, 2021. So this would be for a referendum at the election this fall. Is there a motion to?
Yes, I make a motion on that.
So second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, can I speak to it?
Yes, this is just kind of a repeat of something from August 15th, 2019, that Councilman Rowland and I made quite closely about. This is just something that has been bounced around since 2010, but as old-timers here, and Mayor Woodsy and Councilman Miller can probably remember it. In 2010, there was a referendum put before the public to do this very thing, and it passed 54% from what I recall. And this is kind of similar to this. I think that we have so many other municipalities that are so much smaller than we are, Ravenel, Hollywood, our homes, and then Berkeley County amongst the corner, that has 6 representatives, and they have populations smaller than us. So we're now knocking on the door of 12,000 people, and I honestly think that this would be good for us. Furthermore, it would create staggering of terms that, that would not negatively impact the current members of council. Still give us staggering terms that U.S. senators have and governors have. And so that's just kind of the gist of the whole thing.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
This resolution is to put a referendum on the upcoming November ballot, right? 2021, say. And then if it passes, it would take effect the 2023
Yes.
election. And then those 2 new seats, how would we stagger the 2 new seats from the current?
The top 4 would be 4-year terms, The bottom two would be 2-year terms. So
In terms of votes,
Yes, who comes in what order of. So number 5 and number 6 would be 2-year terms. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4 would be 4-year terms.
do you know, or does anybody know, what's the deadline to get, for lack of a better word, a request to the elections board, county, if we wanted to have an election before 2023? Like in 2022, what if we added 2 seats, 4-year terms, so that there would still be a staggering, and they would all be the same way?
We bounced this idea around in 2019. I remember you did some research on that, and that I'll recall. I remember all the details of it.
For instance, I assume that by now it's too late to have an election this November for 2 more council seats.
The issue is we can't pass the referendum and elect people in the same election.
Okay,
So the referendum to allow 6 seats has to pass first,
okay.
and then we can have an election for, it's a matter of when, it's like 90 days or 60 days or something like that. So the election commission will sometimes be strongly discouraging about just some, well, we don't want to do it, we don't want the election on Christmas Day or something like that. So there's a little bit of negotiation about when would be an appropriate time to have an election. But we could have an election before, special election. We can have a special election. And any election we have, we pay for. So we would have to pay for the special election. We had an additional special election.
And then if we do it under this plan now in 2023, it would be the two lowest vote receiving members of that 2-year term, and then there would be another special election 2 years after that.
It'd be a regular scheduled election for these 2.
Only for those 2.
Yes, because we already know that this would be going on.
So it's
If you already planned.
2020, the next general election for the town is 2023. And so in 2025 is our next general election, but it would be 2025. And so we would have to amend our election ordinances to have the rule where they, for that first time, for that one time, that the 2 other people, 2 low vote getters in 2023 would have 2-year terms. And then in our regular general election in 2025, then they would be run, their 2-year terms would be up, and then there would be another election, and whoever was elected in 2025 would serve 4 years to 2029. So it wouldn't be like some people serve 2 years perpetually, it would just be people start.
Yeah, that was the main issue I had about having 2 different sets of terms. I didn't like the idea of having some 2-year terms and 4-year terms. So the amendment that I would propose would be that we have 2 additional members, but they don't start until 2025, and it's 4 years. Because that way everybody's at 4 years and everything's even. It also staggers the terms.
So you are making an amendment, and so the amendment you're proposing is to,
Staggered terms such that 4 members of council will be elected every 4 years, and 2 members will be elected 2 years subsequent for 4-year terms.
So let me make sure I get this right. So 4 of us would be 4 candidates to be running in 2023. Then in 2025, there'd be an election for 2. Okay.
For a 4-year
For
term.
a 4-year term, yes. Okay, that's an interesting twist, okay?
so actually, so help me, where in the resolution does it actually speak to that? I mean, you were going to make an amendment, especially specifying to.
In other words, we're getting the stagger that the state law asks for with that, and everybody's terms are the same.
See, the way this is written says in section B in the beginning, staggered terms such that some members of council will be elected every 2 years. So when I came into this, I was thinking there would be some seats that were 2-year seats.
That's not what
Just
that
clarify
means.
stuff.
It just means that, what it means is that every 2 years, some people would be up for election, and not that there would be perpetual 2-year seats. It did not speak, as I don't see anywhere in the actual resolution that it speaks to how we stagger the terms.
Well,
But it does seem that 6 would come up in 4 to 6, with the 2 additional positions filled in the next initial. I'm sorry, this just won't work.
Because it says
I think
all
that we
6
should
seats.
just withdraw this and come back to it next month.
I would second that motion just to clean it up a little bit.
Sounded there's some confusion, however, I will say I do found Milliken's amendment, very intriguing, very interesting. But there does appear to be some confusion, and I do agree with Councilman Laurel that we do come back in the next month on this. I apologize again, really on this. So, yes, we did come back on this in August.
Okay, so if there's no objection, we'll just withdraw this and bring it back up in August. All right, the next item on the agenda is ordinances for first reading. This is an ordinance increasing the compensation of the mayor. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I would like to speak to the, your motion, Councilman Bowles.
Yes, sir. And thank you to Ashley for helping me dig the ordinance out in the code sections. So as I understand it right now, the compensation for part-time mayor position is $15,000. I think that if we raise it to 48, we could attract a lot of interest in the seat. And so that's what this is directed at. I wasn't aware that the council members made $8,500 a year. I feel like that was more than I thought we were getting, but I didn't fill that part in, so I defer to town staff on that. In my opinion, competition breeds really great results. And also, in my opinion, this, even though it's classified as part-time, is pretty demanding time-wise. So I think this is fair and in line with the time spent. I think it would attract qualified interest, from other people within the town. I would bet that the $15,000 that we currently offer is pretty far down on the spectrum of what other towns offer as well. So I think it's a good idea. It won't take effect until 2023. And yeah, I hope that you guys, support it. I think it's a good idea. If you have any questions or anything, I'm happy to answer it.
Any further discussion?
And we've discussed this before, my biggest concern, would we have direct citizen participation in this? I'm really big on referendums, and we're public servants. If we're gonna ask for a pay increase, I wish the public would be along with that. I would like to amend this to do this on a referendum. No disrespect, I see your point, I see what you're saying, I respect this. But I think that there should be direct citizen participation in a decision such as this.
So would you, are you making an amendment?
I like to propose an amendment that we put this, along with mine, proposal, that we put this on a referendum to the public, to see if they feel it's something they would like from their elected officials. Because, we are public servants, I think that the people should have the final say on it.
I would appreciate that. My understanding of the first reading is that there would be a public hearing next month. I might be wrong about that.
I don't believe a public hearing would be necessary.
It may not be necessary, it could be possible. We can invite everybody to come down and weigh in and tell us what they think about, raising the salary. In that way, we'd be able to hear from town citizens, without waiting for, referendum.
Well, then I'll withdraw my amendment, and, we can do that then.
I think that'd be totally fine, I'll invite everybody out, come down to the August meeting and tell us what they think. I mean, I've tried to float this by just people I know, anecdotally, my neighbors, things like that, so. Let's invite everyone out next time, if assuming that it passes first reading, it's just first reading, right, it's not done. And then we'll have a public hearing, and then a second.
One thing that I'd be curious about is what other municipalities pay their mayors. So that would be something that I think would be useful information to have in between now and the next meeting. I think it would be interesting to find out what strong mayor forms of government in similar sized towns pay their mayors. I think that would be an interesting comparison, because then we have some comparison. I just don't really know if it's too much or not enough, or, if it's not enough, we're doing the future mayor a great injustice. If it's,
Nobody's in this for the money.
that's for sure.
So a study was done by a committee in this town's, a legally formed town, Channel 3, and they came up with $15,000 for if there was a town administrator, and then $35,000 if there was not. And so the theory was that if there was no town administrator, the mayor would be full-time, be here, operate all day, if you're an administrator, it'd be 15,000. Now this is like, that's a long time ago. And so those figures are, they have not reflected inflation since. But, when this council passed 15,000, or this town passed 15,000, almost a decade ago, the inflation since that time brings it up to about 17,500, much less than 48,000. My opinion has always been that a number like 48,000, which I think the town can afford, is too little to have someone have this be their full-time job. That, while I have just recently retired, for many, many years, I was a full-time professor at Citadel, and this was my part-time job, and so that's how I could afford to do this. And there may be other people who are able to, in any case. So I think 48,000 is actually too little to have someone do that. Something I can afford to do. I can afford to do this for $48,000 if I weren't retired. And it's too much for someone who basically depends on a town administrator operating it. I will admit also that as it is very easy as mayor of our small towns to spend a lot of time, at it. So that is important. Anyway, those are just my remarks.
And I have a question. It would be good for us to know, because I know you attend a zillion meetings. You're in meetings a lot. You're doing a lot of back and forth with different municipalities, city of Charleston, county of Charleston, et cetera, et cetera. It would be good for us to understand, because I'm sure you're working significantly more hours than just part-time. Do you have a guesstimate?
No. So, but anyway, I think we could come up with some information about what other municipalities have. And by the next meeting.
I wonder if Mass doesn't keep those kind of statistics.
They do.
I would think,
Yeah, we do.
and if I thought of it, I would have asked them before tonight. I didn't honestly even think you would.
I think it's on, I'll get the figures. I think it's probably a part of, they have a compensation survey that they do every year.
The challenge is, okay, so there might be a municipality about our population, but a staff of 100. And there may be, and there probably aren't, there'll be a municipality with a population of 1,000, and a staff of 3 So we have a complication. So staff reports are small relative to most municipalities in South Carolina. We have a relatively large population relative to the size of our staff, because the James Island PSD provides solid waste and fire, and we have the option share control rather than our own police forces. So anyway, it's complicated, but that will be provide information on various ways of looking at it, which is what that committee did again years ago. That's a long time ago. All right, any further discussion?
Do you think maybe we might want to defer it, Councilman Bowles, do you want to defer this till next month, till we get this research?
No,
Oh, okay. Just a suggestion.
appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
No. So that passes.
No, me too.
So that passes 3-2. All right, so next, we'll go to ordinance 2021-04, ordinance establishing general specific schedule for retention of public record. And so, I move that we adopt this, or second.
Second?
Okay, I'll speak to it. So we had interest on council to clarify. We have the general retention records developed by the state municipalities, and they provide minimums for how long we can keep various classes of records, but no maximums. And so there's interest to have maximums. And so we have the power to opt out of that general one and then adopt something, though it has to be approved by the director of the Department of Architecture and History. So the first part of this it says after the minimum required retention period, the town will promptly destroy banking and other financial records and personal financial information to the public, which seems to be a major concern of some members of council. I would like at this point to move to strike section B and C. Is there a second? Both B and C refer to the prior towns of James Island.
What's the effect of striking them out?
Well, then this would, our ordinance would speak only to the public records of this, of the current town since 2012. The reason why well, is there a second?
For consideration.
Okay, so it's been seconded. So anyway, now we'll discuss. And so, I was advised by the attorney that this town is not the legal successor of the previous towns, and therefore under the South Carolina Public Records Act, I should contact the director of the South Carolina Department of Archives and History and tell him that we are in possession of records of these previous towns that have been closed down, and that I understood from our town attorney in conversation that they have taken such material from other municipalities, and if they would, how should we dispose of them? And they contacted us back and said, we'll take them and send someone to look at them, and it will be packing them up and taking them to the South Carolina Department of Archives, and then they will decide what they think is appropriate to do with them. And so therefore, none of this is relevant.
So just out of curiosity, and the question is, if they go to the Bureau of Archives, what are their options? Are there options to then archive the material, destroy the material, or then eventually return the material to us?
No, I think we could ask them for it, but if we get copies of any material, that's what they would basically keep it. The material that they would follow their procedures. And so some things like minutes